Welcome to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. We reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work in a sea of fads. We explore the physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Jana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game, starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody. You're watching The Health Revolution, and I'm your host, Jana Morrison, and we are excited that you are joining us today. No matter which way you are tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button because we want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for show episode notes. You're going to want to take note of that because there's impactful and important information about today's episode. Now, for those of you who are new to us and also those who have been tuning into us for a time, you know our show is all about that physical strength, the emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. I'm excited about today's episode because we are talking about what it means to embrace and conquer the yet factor. Have you heard about the yet factor? Do you know what that is? Because this is something that's going to help us elevate to new heights. And my guest today is someone who I am excited to spend time with. She is someone I've gotten to know. She brings a huge set of receipts, and she is here to inspire and also for us to learn and have our takeaways so that we can be better than who we were yesterday. So let's take a look at this video. Let's get to know Jana Short. Meet Jana Short, a visionary leader in holistic living and the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine, which inspires over 1.5 million readers worldwide to embrace wellness, mindfulness, and sustainable living. Jana has been recognized as one of Los Angeles Women of the Year and a top influencer, and she's the author of The Yet Factor, a powerful guide to transforming mindsets and unlocking potential. Through her magazine, her book, and her dedication to positive change, Jana connects people with leading experts to help them live their best lives. Today, we're sitting down with her to learn more about her incredible journey and her mission to empower individuals around the globe. Jana Short, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm excited about our conversation. You do a lot, and I've got to give you flowers. Editor-in-chief, you're an author. You've been in the space where you've helped to create connections and inspire so very many. What was part of your journey way back in the day where it became your calling to really do more and inspire more to what you're to others with what you're doing today?
About 12 years ago, I had a near-death experience. I thought I was living an incredible life, driving a Bentley, wearing my Louboutins and my Hermes bags. But here's the thing, when I was on a deathbed, none of those were helping me. None of them were coming with me. And I realized all I wanted was just a little bit more time to create a memory with a brand new grandson I had. He was, at the time, I believe he was our third or fourth grandson. And I kept thinking, he was born a few weeks before all of this happened to me. How will he have a memory of me? And so when I went home, basically on hospice care, being told I would, just my organs would shut down and I would be done with life, I got on my computer and I Googled the words desperate for health answers, looking for holistic options. And the world opened up to me, like the entire world. And I was so excited with all the new information. And I didn't realize I had lived over 50 years and I had no idea about any of this. And it's been around for a very long time. And for me, it was a mind shift to live long enough to create a memory. That grandson is 12 years old now, and I have created beautiful memories with him. We now have 7 grandkids, and life has been like one, for me, one incredible memory and heartbeat at a time. But knowing that you are no longer going to be here really makes you take stock of what is important to you, like what is of real value in on this beautiful planet and in our lifetime. And for me, it was connection with my family, connection with my friends, and offering hope to people who feel like there isn't any for them.
So when you think back to that moment where you had to take pause with all that was happening in life, what were some things that what were some indicators to you that made you think, wait a minute, I have a choice, red pill, blue pill. I can go this way or I can go that way. What allowed you to make the choices that pushed you to grow? What were some of those elements for you?
So I was forced to grow because that door was closed and locked. No matter how long I stood there pounding on it for answers, it was not opening. And so I had no other option but to turn and look for the other doors. And so I was literally forced into it. And I hear a lot of stories over the last 12 years. And some of those stories sound very familiar. A door's completely closed off because of a loss or a tragedy that they've gone through that really was an awakening for them. And I feel like my illness for me was such a blessing and such an awakening that I understood what living a true life really was. As far as going red pill, blue pill, now for me, I think about everything I need and everything you need. That if you're listening to this, whatever you need to create whatever beautiful life you want, you already possess it. You don't need a bigger car. You don't need a fancier dress. Like, you don't need any of those things. You're not taking them with you, but you do take that beautiful mind of yours. And I feel like for me, that red pill versus blue pill was my thinking. And I didn't think of dying. I thought of the moment that I was in. And I feel like I've strung those moments together over the last 12 years. And my doctor keeps saying, you're not living on borrowed time. You're doing really well. So stop thinking that way. But I feel like I don't want to stop thinking that way.
Why do you think we struggle with thinking in opportunistic ways that we have more power than we realize? What have you seen to be the common denominator? Why is it that we have the limiting mindset, especially with illnesses and diagnosis that we hear, or health situations that we're being told by doctors that we're fighting through? Why is it so hard? Why do you think?
A lot of that is something that you don't even have control of. It's limiting beliefs, and those that were really formed pretty solid by the age of 7. And these are things that you overhear. These are the areas you grew up in. Did you grow up in a wealthy family, or did you grow up in a struggling family? Like, all of these create these limiting beliefs inside you. And by the way, I hear people say, oh, my parents were horrible if they did that to me. They're not. When they created these beliefs in you, this was their limiting beliefs and how they thought they were going to keep you safe. I'm just going to use an example of one my mom did for me that caused problems in my life until I was 50 and started doing some work on myself and realized, wait, that's a thing. But for my mom, when I wanted to go to college and I wanted to have that conversation about going to college with my mom, and talking to her about how I'm going to finance it and how we're going to do this, where am I going to go? She made it very clear to me to be very careful, because if you get too educated, your husband will feel not manly. He's got to be the leader of the household, the head of the household. And if I make too much money, he's going to feel insecure, and you will always fight about money if you're the big breadwinner. And I noticed in corporate settings that I slammed the brakes a little bit and made sure I stepped back and let them step forward, because that was their place. This is not men's fault, by the way. This is our fault. I don't want people to keep going after men for lack of space for women. The truth of the matter is we didn't ask for it. You can't complain about that when you're not even asking for it. So now I want you to understand that when you're changing these limiting beliefs, find your voice. Find your voice and say, oh, I'd like to participate in that. I think I could take the lead on that. And for me, I realized I just wasn't using my voice. I was stepping back, but that was a limiting belief I learned when I was ready to go to high school or college that I carried with me till I was 50 years old, stepping back, letting them step forward.
And I think you bring up a good point. There's so much of growing up that influences us,
Mhm.
and it's almost like hate to say like a precondition or pre-existing thoughts or mindset. And for me, my takeaway growing up was, my mother was a little just rough around the edges with how she moved in life. And the one thing that was my takeaway from her was just the stubbornness, but I'd like to look at it as strategic stubbornness, the not throwing in the towel so quickly, not trying to decide or conclude that something's not working or what have you. But I do agree with you. I think that there comes a point where we start wrestling with wait a minute, this is what I was exposed to growing up, and I don't think it's supposed to be that way anymore. So there's that level of compartmentalizing,
Mhm.
maybe justifying or trying to sort through what we were exposed to as as we were growing up. And what allowed you, when you started to be obviously becoming an adult and then paving your way, what were some things that were part of your discovery of what you needed to do to grow, even if we didn't have that language when we were younger?
And I didn't have that language when I was younger. I will tell you a big secret about me, which is really no secret at all. But I was a mom at 17, and I make jokes all the time when my grandkids ask me. They're graduating high school now, and they ask like, "Did you go to prom? What was it like?" I couldn't get a babysitter for your Aunt Tawny, so I didn't go. And so I'm literally open with them about it. But I was a mom at 17, and I had no choice. I was an adult. I had to provide for a child. I was a single mom. Her dad was in medical school, so he really wasn't a big participant. And it was all on me. And my mom used to always tell me, get up and do something. No one's coming to save you. And I always learned, get up and do something. Stop waiting for it to happen to me. And so I think because of that beautiful child that came into my life, I was forced to grow up very quickly. And I realized every choice I made affects somebody else. And so I moved through life building a world that I thought would be a good place for my daughter. And now I can tell you, I'm so proud of her. She has a PhD. She is a specialist at an incredible hospital for sleep. And I love the fact that I was part of that growth with her. And I've learned so much from her growing up with her, basically. But for me, it was being a mom at 17 changed my world and how I thought. It was less about me and more about her. And by the way, I will say that you have to remember as moms, when I say less about me and more about her, you are number one. You have to always put your health, yourself first, because I suffered and had a near death experience because I didn't understand that. So hopefully you can find a way to balance that out. And I think in the book, we absolutely talk about balancing things like that out.
And you bring up a great point that it's a newer way of thinking about taking care of ourselves, the that we need to be first. And I remember when I lived in Tennessee, so many chapters ago. Tennessee was great for me, but I remember I heard a trend of women at the time when I was there saying, I put my kids first. And I remember saying, well, I put me first. And the reaction I got was, "What's wrong? What's this? What's going on here?" And so I look back and I think that we've been conditioned that this is what is to be in theory, and then we've been challenging that. And I think it's a beautiful thing when we are taking care of ourselves. What are some things that that you see in women that are holding women back from elevating self-care to be able to show up for everything else in life? What's holding women back sometimes?
I think a lot of it again is from limiting beliefs and it's shame and guilt. You're shameful if you spend money that maybe you could be spending on your kids. You feel guilt if you're not at every single game, right? And you're putting them first. I can remember I raised 4 children, and I can remember them all catching a horrible flu bug. And then, of course, I get it. I couldn't call in sick. I had to show up. And I remember crying in my bedroom, can I just be sick one time by myself? Being exhausted. But I will tell you that for me, moving into taking care of myself, again, it took a near death experience to realize that if I don't take care of myself first, I cannot show up for anybody. I cannot be the best mom, the best wife, the best friend, the best colleague. I have to put myself first, and I have no shame or guilt about it anymore. And I think that for women, we get shamed, and we get guilted, right? And judged, like, you're not doing that for your kid. Why are you not doing that? It's okay to be that person like you were and say, I put myself first. I think the more we say that, the more women will release that guilt and shame and start taking better care of themselves.
And I think you're absolutely right, because this is it's that claiming the language. I think over time there's been an expectation for women to move through life a certain way, that we hold a lot of value, not to take away from, say, men, but historically, where the assumptions have been. And I think that there's a lot of moving pieces now in life that allow us to look at that again, take a second look, and double check that meaning. And it reminds me of, and this is a great segue, because I think a lot of, when I think of holistic living, when I think of a holistic approach, it starts with the self. It's being able to have that inner self connection. And so the idea of putting self first, the giving permission to put self first, that it would seem like it integrates with holistic being. And so do you find that let me back up a little bit. What is your definition of holistic living? And I'll start there.
So for me, holistic living should be spelled with a W, because it really is about the whole. It's not one thing. It's not a better diet. It's not a better sleep pattern. It's not more like massages. It's like a whole bunch of things. And it's our whole body, what we're eating, how we breathe, how we connect with nature, right? Our friends and family, the support team we have around us. It is so many things. So I believe holistic should be spelled with a W, because it's an entirety of things that you need to do for yourself, not the one thing. I always tell people, once you start, though, it's baby steps. And once you hit the one thing, go to the next. It's almost like a domino effect. It just becomes an aha moment of where you need to go and need to be to take better care of yourself. I switch things out. People are like, how did you get here? I could never do this. I'm like, I did it one day at a time. This has been a 12-year journey for me. If you were here the year one, you would not have seen this. And when you come back in 10 years, it'll be even different, more different, right? Because I'm learning more about how I can better take care of myself, my family. I just want to go back real quickly about self-care. And I will tell you, this reminds me of this woman I knew who left her marriage, her kids, and ran. And when I hit that point in my marriage, I remember thinking to myself, I know why she left. She was running for her life. You will get to a burnt out stage of being a mom, a wife. Everything suffers because you have not taken care of yourself. You haven't taken that moment to step away from everything that's going on and do something for yourself. So you are burnt out. And that is not your kid's fault. It is not your husband's fault or your job's fault. It's your fault for not finding your voice and saying, I need some time for myself, and doing what you need to do for yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So you have to find the space and the voice to do it for yourself.
And you drive a really impactful point, because it reminds me of the moment in time where I was a single mom, and my first marriage did not last. We did not ultimately align, and I was forced to take care of myself in ways that it was the only choice, my first and primary choice, so that I could take care of the things, take care of the kids. I'm also an autism mom, and so it was ever apparent that I show up, and it didn't feel great. It didn't feel cozy. I didn't have the perfect schedules. I didn't have the situation was extremely uncomfortable in all the different ways. But there was just this desire of, I got to go. I've got to see this through. And in doing so, this is going to, I know that it is the right thing for me to do, that will sustain all the chapters that are that are ahead. So I feel like as a single mom that this was something that that was ever apparent. And we're going to tackle we've got so many things that we're going to cover, including the book. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
So NAD is something that we use for people who are going through withdrawal symptoms, whether it's opioids, whether it's alcohol. GABA receptors in our brain is something that alcohol affects when we drink. So when you're going through alcohol withdrawals and I give you the calm bag or give you calm with GABA in it, it kind of gives your brain that kind of fix, so to speak, of the alcohol to help with the withdrawal symptoms. I'm not saying it gets rid of them. I'm not saying I give you GABA and you're good to go forever. That's not what I'm saying. It's, again, just like everything we offer, it's a relief.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Our guest today, Jana Short, she's editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine and author of the book, The Yet Factor. We are talking about how to embrace and conquer the yet factor in life, that holistic approach to up-leveling into a new level of strength. And Jana, before the break, we were talking about a lot of breakthroughs that you've had and the turning points where your mindset really shifted the path that you're on. And I want to talk about your book, The Yet Factor. I just want to show our audience that this is an incredible book, and it's Success Decoded: Strategies to Transform Your Mindset, Unlock Success, and Craft Your Winning Route. Talk to us about the when you decided, what was the backstory behind putting this book together?
I use yet a lot. My grandkids called it the yet factor because they would say, I haven't gotten on the ball team. You haven't got on it yet. Next season, right? This gives you a whole year to get ready. And I would change their thought pattern as a closed door to an open door. And when you have a mindset of yet, it tells your brain there's a possibility. And so that door is always open until the universe makes that path for you. But when you say, I can't do that, period, it closes off everything. And for me, I wanted to have people understand how to start unlocking things with little teeny tips and tricks to use for your brain, for your mindset, that opens the door for so many other things.
And I think this is incredible. This is something that we struggle with in life, and it grinds my gears when I hear today, as I've grown, when I hear somebody says, I can't. And there's like that definitive statement, that definitive point at the end of their sentence. And, I have the book here. I've been reading it. This is pretty amazing. And, in life, one chapter that you talked about, and I want to highlight to our viewers that you talk about powerful conversations to have, which we still struggle with to this day. And I love how you talk about when you say mastering active listening means more than just hearing words. It involves wholeheartedly connecting with the speaker and comprehending their message. Ensure success by carefully attending to details, offering verbal affirmations, and seeking clarifications through questions. So you go on to talk about active listening, showing empathy and respect, strengthens relationships, and builds trust. And what I find amazing about this is we struggle so hard to execute this in life. And yet if we were to embrace these principles, the communication piece with strangers, loved ones, would be different, would you say?
100%. When I talk about active listening, by the way, I was horrible at this. When somebody would be talking to me, my brain was thinking of responses. I wasn't really listening. I was like either defending myself or finding a response for that. And I heard nothing. I'm just formulating responses in my head to what they're saying. So I now do a lot better job, although that little voice in my head will kick in, especially the defense part of it, if I feel like I need to defend myself. But it's sometimes you don't. Sometimes they're not even telling you something that you need to defend. So if you really start doing more active listening, shut your brain down, open up what they're saying and receive it. And again, ask questions about what they're saying so you know that you're listening to them, validate that you've heard them. It has changed my business. It has changed my family structure, just doing more active listening.
And this could even apply internally, I'm thinking. So then the connection with our inner self and the moment of maybe frustration, exasperation, or feeling overwhelmed, where we're feeling like we're going a million miles a minute. We're all in the feels with our emotions, but then the pause for thought would actually lend opportunity to take notice and then reconnect. So listening to what our response is. And I got to tell you, I'm the same way too. With my growing up, my family is just, we talk over one another, no poker face, we're upset, we're going to let you know about it. And over the years, I've grown in being able to pause more. I'm sure there's more that I can learn from, and which is why I have the book. And so but I see the connection and where the growth can be, and that growing like this and taking pause is a good thing. It's not a negative thing.
It is absolutely a good thing to ingest what they're saying, to receive it without feeling that there's a need to respond. And it honestly has changed my life. I will tell you, it's not something that happens overnight. And it's something, there's a part in the book that we call the whack-a-mole area, right? And every time those thoughts, I'm like, play a game of whack-a-mole. When that negative thought or that intrusive listening device pops in, whack it, like start getting quicker and quicker at it. But for me, I still have to play a little whack-a-mole, especially with my kids, because you're a mom instinct, and you immediately want to reply when you see danger. And so now I have to sit back and let them take their journey, which is really hard for moms nowadays. We don't want to see our children in pain, but what happens when we're in pain? We grow. And so sometimes we have to just sit back and support from a distance, letting them know they're loved and in the secure space. But our kids need to have a little bit of pain in their lives. It's hard to watch, I agree, but that's how they grow and learn. Hey, the kettle's hot. I burnt my hand. Don't touch that.
Very true. One of the things that I love about your book is that, you come at success at different angles. I love the connection that you make with holistic living, that internal connection, and then success. And so, there's one part on here when you talk about the level of positivity and self-talk, and why that's so very important, why we shouldn't browbeat ourselves, or we shouldn't finger blame or finger wag at ourselves in the mirror. And I love how you talk about the mindset loops. And this is something I just want to point out here in your book, chapter 10. You write, mindset loops are not just mental patterns, but protective mechanisms that develop in response to our environment and experiences. From the moment that we're conceived, we're influenced by the world around us. These protective loops shield your body, mind, feelings, and heart from harm. And then you go on to say the mind's primary job is to keep you safe from danger. This is why illnesses can sometimes be traced back to our belief patterns and ways of handling stress and emotions. Talk a little bit more about that, the influence, and why we certainly can can address that appropriately and give ourselves permission to shift gears?
When I would get sick and I started learning more about mindset, I could look back and any major illness I had, I could correlate to something horrific going on in my life. And my body did not want to deal with it. So it protected me and put me in bed, right? Let me rest. And a lot of people who are, let's just say you're at a job that's very unpleasant for you and you come home or on your drive home or to work, you're saying in your head, oh my God, I hate this job. If I have to go in one more time, I'm going to shoot myself. This is horrible. It's making me crazy. Your body's hearing that. Your mind is meant to protect you. And honestly, it could start triggering migraines. It can start triggering fatigue, depression. There's all kinds of things that can trigger in your body because it doesn't want you in an environment where you might shoot yourself or it's making you sick. It heard that. And so we have to be really aware of even subconsciously the things our brain is taking in and addressing it or readdressing it into a more positive way. Like, I can't stand this job yet. I'm working though. I'm working on making better relationships, learning more about it, and creating a better workspace for me. Your mind hears possibilities with that, and it's going to allow you to go to work and create those beautiful spaces. So it doesn't happen overnight. So I don't want you coming home in a week like it didn't work. This takes some time, but I promise you, once you start taking those baby steps, you are going to be surprised that your life becomes such a joyful place because now you have more tools and strategies to get yourself there.
What do you say to the viewer who's like, yes, Jana, easier said than done. You don't know what I've been through, because sometimes we feel that way. I've felt that way before, where, you throw your hands in the air and you're just, it seems as though, everything is the anti-Midas touch, everything that you touch turns to crap. And so what would you say to the person that does in fact believe, well, it's easier for you to say?
It is easier said than done. Everything is. Seriously, it's easier to say go cook dinner than go cook dinner. Everything is easier said than done. But there are things that I want badly in my life. I want to have peace. I want to have joy. I have sisters that are much younger than me. One's 10 years younger, one's 17 years younger, and one's 20 years younger. And when they got my book, because I sent them a gift of the book, and I got, oh my gosh, are you aging backwards? What are you doing? And one sister even sent me a picture that we took together 20 years ago. And I look 20 years younger than that picture. And I said, I think the only thing I could think of is I live in constant joy now. Even the hard things become easy. And I know it's this work I have been doing on mindset. My relationships are stronger. My health is better. I am creating a beautiful space for myself. And here's the thing, when you start putting it out, it's what you attract. So if you're putting out negativity about yourself, within negativity, self-doubt, resentment, anger, whatever that is that you're carrying within is what you reject out. It's what people see, and it's like attracts like. It's so true. And I know that there are days I'm out driving and I'm got cut off and I'm in the car, and then someone else does it and they're back. I immediately go back home. I ground for a minute because I know that energy is coming from me. If someone cut me off the first time and I'm like, oh, it's okay. Are you okay? Go ahead. That energy would have passed on to them and it wouldn't have been this nasty energy. So when I see that, I'm like, I know it's me. I've got to go back home, ground, get myself into a better space and do a do-over. And it definitely works if you have time to go back home and do it over.
I'll tell you, I do more times than I should admit, or that I care to admit. But, you talk about, I do subscribe to the idea of aging backwards. And you touched on something I think is very important. When we do take care of ourselves, the aging process, we're getting older, but we're not old, is the motto I love to embrace. But when we take care of ourselves, we can certainly we can course correct, and all that implies. So physically taking care of ourselves, being mindful in so many ways to, just be how you filter what you pay attention to. So when that becomes more energy, when you qualify the energy to get to you, then it does have a domino effect, physically speaking too. If we're walking around mad and mean, and suddenly we've got these frown lines, or we're mean mugging, and it becomes almost like a natural state where People might even say, "What's wrong?" "Oh, nothing's wrong. I'm not mad. What are you talking about?" And I've gone through that before, but I've also experienced moments where when I've been determined to have a better attitude, even though I'm struggling in the moment, that the outcome is surprisingly better. Like, oh, okay, that the things are okay. And so I think that is those are some of the keys. And I love how you point out, because we have these blocks in life. And I one thing I want to highlight another area, if I may. You talk in chapter 14, the success detours and mastering these roadblocks. And just to your point, you talk about fail forward on chapter 14. You say people often view failure as a negative outcome, signifying that we haven't met our objectives. However, this perspective can be limiting. When we reframe failure as feedback, it becomes a powerful tool for growth and improvement. Every setback offers valuable insights that can steer us towards success. And you talk in detail. Talk about how often do we go through success detours? I love how you touch on this. And what are some misconceptions about success detours in our lives?
So for me, I should have called this chapter failure to launch, because success detours sometimes are blocks we put in our own way. And I feel like, and I've always raised my kids, even before I knew about words and how they worked for us. I never called my kids bad. I would always say, that's not a very pretty thing to do, or that's an ugly thing to do to someone, so that they hopefully would want to feel pretty about themselves or good about themselves. So I didn't use the word bad, and I never use the word failure. I always use the word feedback. Like, great, I'm so glad that happened. What feedback did you get? I want everyone to think about, if you have kids, every single person on this planet has probably been through this. But when you learn to walk, you fell down so many times. I know so many people have the scar right here or right here from hitting the corner of the table. You fell, you got hurt. But what did your parents do, right? Oh, good job, right? Hold on to the table. And you kept adjusting until you got it right. You didn't quit. I'm not going to walk. That hurt. That was scary. It's not happening. You just kept getting back up and using the feedback you got until you became a proficient walker and then a runner, right? So those are the things I want you to visualize when you're trying to do something. And success detours are things we put in our own way. And usually it's because we're afraid. We're afraid of failure. So if we don't put it out there, we can't fail. We're afraid sometimes of success. I see so many high-end clients that I work with that are terrified of success, and they'll hold back, and everything's not perfect. Now I've got to have a book, and now I've got to have this, and I'm going to spend some time on this class. And they don't launch. Their success detours, and they're ready. Sometimes what we need to learn isn't until we go out there and launch that success. The lessons are in there, not here. So I love that. I like to use the theory about walking, because everyone can relate to that. You fall so many times. I've never seen a baby just roll over and go, I'm not, that's it.
Or also, I love your analogy, because I love the idea, but you've never, when a baby is walking and then all of a sudden, or when he or she starts to walk and that stumbles on the first or second step, you're never going to hear the parent say, stop trying, go back to crawling.
Right.
So,
I'll just carry you everywhere for the rest of your life. Don't worry.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot to cover, including your magazine, Best Holistic Life. And then more details, your podcast we're going to get into. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Today, we're talking about ovarian cancer, an important topic, as this cancer is often called the silent killer due to its subtle symptoms. Now, raising awareness is key to early detection. Ovarian cancer symptoms can be easy to overlook because they're often mistaken for common digestive issues. Watch out for persistent bloating, pelvic or abdominal pain, feeling full quickly after eating, and frequent urination. These symptoms may seem mild, but if they last for more than a few weeks, it's time to consult a doctor. Other signs to be aware of include unexplained weight loss, fatigue, and changes in bowel habits. Keep in mind that every body is different, so listen to yours. Early detection can make all the difference. If you have a family history of ovarian or breast cancer, you may be at a higher risk, so talk to your healthcare provider about screening options. Remember, being aware of the symptoms and acting early could save your life or the life of someone that you love. Stay proactive, stay aware, and stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Jana Short. She is the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine. She's also the author of the book, The Yet Factor. And we were talking about conquering the Yet Factor, embracing the Yet Factor, and what it means to elevate in so many different ways. Jana, we were diving into the book. I think it's I'm glad I got my hands on it. And now I want to hold space for your magazine, 1.5 million readers, I should say, worldwide, and talk a little bit about the goal for the magazine and what are some elements and characteristics that we get to learn from your magazine.
So I'm really glad you asked me about this. We launched the magazine in 2019, and honestly, it came because I was lazy. So again, a failure turning into a success. But I was asked to do a newsletter, and I did not want to do a newsletter. I was too busy. So what I did is I had some really incredible clients that were in professional fields, helping people in the holistic world. And I asked them to give me an article for my newsletter. And I got like 30 of them. And my interior design background put me like, how do I put out 30 of these in a newsletter? So I went on Canva. I created this beautiful little magazine, the very first one we ever did. And I put it out in the newsletter, my very first newsletter, and I had 35,000 people sign up for it, like in the very first round. I was like, wait, what is happening? And so I did it quarterly the first year because it was a lot. And it became so popular that we were close to 1 million. I think we're at 700,000. And we decided to start releasing monthly. And so we've been releasing monthly for the last 3 years. And what you'll find in there is experts, incredible people sharing stories, sharing thoughts. What you won't find in there are curative claims, diagnoses, and treatment plans, because those are something you should be consulting your doctor about. But this is education you can take to your doctor. These are new thoughts that I didn't know. If I can sit at my computer at 50 years old looking for health answers and typing in those words, I was blown away by what I didn't know. And what I didn't know was what saved my life. And here I am. My husband's a doctor. He's a veterinarian, but he knows something about medicine. My ex-husband is an internist. And my 2 daughters were in med school and no one could help me. So I wanted to put something forward that was real, that was honest, that was vetted, so that you don't have to worry, are these people real? Are they fake? Not allowed to make a curative claim, a diagnosis, or push product on you. And that's where the heartbeat of the magazine came from. And we are actually at 1.7 million now. And our anniversary is in December. So I'm super excited about that coming up. I think it's our 5th anniversary. So that's where the magazine and the heartbeat came from, is I wanted to help navigate what people are looking for by finding those beautiful needles in the haystack and pulling them forward and shining a light on who they are, what they do, and let them talk to you a little bit. So for me, that's the heartbeat of the magazine.
And I love how you integrate the situation that you were going through, that, hey, I'm surrounded by medical loved ones, and yet I still feel this way. And so I'm putting a foot forward, and so creating that connection, and it's moving the needle forward. It's putting that hand out there of, let us learn together. This is a great tool and a great resource. And I commend you for that, because that's 1.7 that's a short amount of time. And of course, going through COVID and then lots of just everyone navigating through. It's I can see how much of a valuable resource this is. And of course, that's not the only thing that you're doing. Talk a little bit about your podcast, and I also want to just shine a light on that. The name of it, when you started it, and then of course our just your goal in connecting with audiences that with your podcast.
So my podcast is called Oh My Health, There's Hope. And it was created because I wrote a book called Oh My Health, There Is Hope, my very first book where I shared my story. And for those of you who've written a book before, congratulations, because it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And when I wrote this book, I could not fill a whole book about my story. I just couldn't. And so I asked other writers to come in and share. They had beautiful heartbeat stories that would resonate with others. Maybe mine didn't, but theirs would. Our book became a bestseller really quick, and then an international bestseller, and it stayed there for quite a while. And I kept thinking, why? Why is it a bestseller? And I realized people resonate with your stories. It gives them hope. It's like these beautiful heartbeats that we share that go out into the world, and they hit just the right person at just the right time and gives them maybe that extra courage or hope or inspiration to move forward. So on the Oh My Health, There's Hope, we've done over 650 episodes. We get about 40,000 downloads an episode. And I think it's because they really can relate to people's struggles, stories. But the light is where they're at today because they went through it, right? It was because of it, not in spite of it. It was because of what they learned, all the feedback they got that redirected them into the world they're in now. And so I love the podcast very much. I love the stories that we hear. We had an NFL player on, and when he asked to be on, I said, we tell stories of hope. Like, popular NFL player. What kind of story do you have? He goes, Jan, I have a story. I have a story of hope. And when he came on, his name is Brett Lockett. When he came on, to this day, it was one of my favorite inspiring stories. And so never judge that people don't have a powerful story. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. Now, how often do new episodes roll out for your podcast?
So this is the funny part. We had a waiting list of 18 months. And then once we recorded it, it was like 4 months before it went out. And I actually had someone who passed away in that time. So that when their episode went out, their team reached out to me and said, oh, I don't know if you know this, but she passed away. She was in a fire at her school. And she was this really famous guru lady. I'm like, I had no idea. But when there's 2 years, life happens in that 2 years and things change. So to cut it down, we release on Saturdays now. We do have some special features that come out on Wednesday that are pretty amazing. When you subscribe, you get an incredible alert. And we just love our listeners. They're so engaged. I get the kindest letters. This person helped me through this. I was so ready to give up, I want people to just hear those stories and be inspired.
And so it begs me to ask this question: who inspires you?
Ooh, so many people. A lot of my clients right now, I'm super inspired and charged by Jen Drummond. I don't know. You've got to have her on your show. This woman was in she has 7 kids. She was in a horrific accident that almost took her life. And she decided to do something with her life. Oddly enough, she decided to climb the 7-second summits and get a Guinness Book World Record. And she did it. The reason she inspires me is, first of all, she has 7 kids. So she's got to be thinking of herself and her journey, right? So she's taking time to take care of herself and make sure her kids understand that they're loved and secure and be part of it. But because her goal wasn't an overnight goal, it was something that took years in the making, and she didn't give up. She didn't quit. As a matter of fact, Guinness Book of World Records said, hey, we're going to disqualify one of those mountains after she got her world record. But if you climb this one, we'll keep it in place. She just did that this month. And I am so proud of her. So she, for me, is an inspiration that sometimes our goals don't happen overnight. You just keep moving towards them one step at a time, and how to kind of incorporate your family and friends at the same time. And she's found a beautiful way to do that and wrote a bestseller book.
Very powerful. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming right back to you. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Jana Short. She is the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine, author of the book, The Yet Factor. And Jana, where can we find you in the virtual space?
Everywhere. You can find me like on Instagram or LinkedIn, all the places. You'll either find me under usually Jana Short Official or Best Holistic Life is where we're at on almost every single platform.
And obviously you've got, so you're on YouTube and then podcasts, and we want to show our viewers all the different places where you are holding space and using your voice to growing and connecting and making a difference. And also your website. Talk a little bit about your website, taplink.cc//Jana Short. Talk a little bit about that.
My website is a really fun place to go. I have a monthly little tip I give you, like a mindset tip. So there's monthly coaching on there. It's just a 5-minute little chat with you talking about a switch you can make in your mind to help move forward. You can find my book there. But for me, I like to be real with people. I want to connect with them. So if you guys DM me, I answer those, not my team. I'm the one that you're talking to. So you know, it's not some bot, or my team is not allowed to answer DMs, although they handle my social media. Anything that comes in a DM, I want to be showing up for those people. And so you'll hear from me.
And if there's one takeaway, one huge umbrella takeaway that you want our audience to know, the message to apply to their lives, what would it be?
No matter where you're at in your journey, if you're young, middle-aged, or older, I went back to school at 55. No matter where you're at in your age, your journey is not over. And you can start anything new. And maybe just adding the yet factor into your vocabulary will help you move in that direction. But can still chase dreams in your 60s. I'm almost 65, and I'm creating new things every day and loving it. And people are like, when are you going to retire? I'm like, I don't know that I am, because this is so fun.
You don't retire from life. You continue to create quality memories for sure. And what do you have going on in the near future? What can we expect? What's happening?
We have something super exciting coming up in August of 2025. We are going to be doing a Holisticon, where we're inviting, for the first year, we are inviting best-selling authors to come in and share with you. And we have some celebrities coming who have made life choices about becoming sober and building healthier relationships. So we have a lot of incredible people coming there. I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that's fantastic. The book is called The Yet Factor. The magazine is Best Holistic Life magazine. The amazing guest we're having today is Jana Short. She's incredible. Jana, thank you so much for your time, energy, and your inspiration. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Yes. And for all our viewers, of course, you can find us on our website. It's thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can certainly email us with any show ideas that might come to you that you would love for us to cover. Don't forget that in the upper corner of your screen is the QR code to snatch that information. And you can find us every Tuesday and Thursday on E360 TV on the Achieve TV channel, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.